Hey, what's up everybody? It's your guy Realistic and I'm doing another tutorial for SoundOracle.net, and in this video I'm going to be going over how to de-ess vocals. And this tutorial was actually the winner of the poll that we had last week, so if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can vote for the polls that show up in your mobile feed. Also, Oracle and I have a brand new course workout called The Art of Beat Mixing. It's available now. I'll put the link below so you can check that out. But it's a full-length course. We got hours worth of content. We got PDF cheat sheets and guides for you to follow along, and just every technique and every process that you need to know to be able to mix your beats professionally. So we're going to dive in right now and go over how to de-ess your vocals. And before I get into the DAW here, I'm going to give you a little tip for while you're recording, how you can kind of reduce that sibilance a little bit, just in case you either recorded your own vocals or you're the person that recorded the vocalist. What you do here is we got the mic here, and so usually we sing on axis, right? We want to sing directly into the diaphragm normally. But if you're dealing with somebody, whether it's you or the singer, that has a lot of sibilance, you want to sing off axis a little bit. So instead of singing this way, just kind of shift the mic a little bit, so you're going a little bit off axis instead of directly on. You want to go just a little off. So instead of singing here, you'd want to move it so then you're just singing like that, and that can really help reduce the sibilance a little bit. I've noticed that throughout the years that can really help. All right, so now we're going to dive into the actual stuff that we're going to be using for de-essing here. And so no surprise here, we're going to be using a de-esser. And you may be wondering, where do I put the de-esser in my chain? I'm going to put it towards the end of the chain here. And the reason why is because there may be some boosting and stuff that I'm going to be doing in the high end with the EQ. So I am going to want to de-ess a little bit after that boosting is happening there. Now, as far as being able to control some of the sibilance a little bit before it hits the compressors, one of the things that you can do is you can do some clip gain stuff. Every once in a while you do have vocal takes that have just a little bit too much sibilance that even a de-esser isn't really able to do the job. So you sometimes have to go in and do a little clip gaining to kind of help the de-esser a little bit. And so actually this particular track here, and I chose this particular track on purpose because of that, it does have a little bit. You can see this right here is where that S is going to be, and so this is an area where we may want to clip gain it. So let's go ahead and check this out. This is actually a loop from our upcoming loop pack that's coming out pretty soon here. The vocals are a little bit repetitive on here, so my bad on that. It is a loop, so they do get repetitive, but this one was really perfect because the sibilance was pretty strong in here, so it was gonna be really good for the sake of learning. So let me go ahead and hit play and you can hear what we're dealing with here, and I'll also bypass these de-essers. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, so we can hear that the sibilance is pretty strong right there, and we're going to need to reduce that a little bit. And so, like I said, the first thing that I do suggest, that if it is a little strong like this one is, just kind of go in there. It can be a little time consuming, but you can kind of just clip gain the sibilance down a little bit, because this is where we have the sibilance right here. So that can kind of help a little bit just to bring that down. So I'll go ahead and play with the clip gain reduce, and then I'll play it how it was before. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So that can help just a little bit, like I said, just in case that the T's and S's are a little strong yet, and the de-esser isn't able to reduce it all the way entirely. It can kind of help out just a little bit, just to kind of ease up the workload a little bit. So that's just a little extra tip. You don't always have to do that, but I do like to do that if it's a little strong there. All right, so now actually let's dive into our actual de-essers, and what you'll notice here is I have two separate de-essers here, and the reason why is because there's usually two parts of our sibilance that we actually need to focus on, and a lot of times people focus on this higher range because that's what we hear initially, but there's some the high mid range is a good part to focus on too, because there's some areas in there that can need some help. And the reason why I like to use two of them versus, just doing a full on wide band, there's two reasons. One is there is a lot of important information in here that I don't want to compress in between this whole range of like 2K to 15K. I don't want to compress that entirely. And then the other reason is I want to control these two areas differently. You can see I got different thresholds and different ranges between the two. So I like to be able to compress those two areas a little bit differently. So in this area, we have that higher part, that little harsher part, the s part of it. But down here, a lot of times, and that people don't focus on, is we got a lower part of the syllabus, especially when it comes to T sounds. But a lot of times it's that that ch sound, right? And so it's just a little bit of a lower tone, and that's a good part that we want to focus on too. There's more than one area to our syllabus problems here, and we want to just control that down a little bit. All right, so now let's dive into the actual settings and figure out what we want to dial in. So we'll focus on that higher part first here. So let's go ahead and close this one, and we'll focus on this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the audition button. Sometimes on some de-essers, it is called listen mode. And what it's just going to do is it's going to allow us just to hear this area that we're zeroing out so we can hear the syllabus a little bit better. All right, and so then what you do here is you kind of just scope around a little bit. And then I can adjust and go a little bit higher. Right here, I can adjust the band. Okay, and what I did there was I adjusted these, and what I'm listening for when I'm adjusting these is I'm searching for when I can get these frequencies of where they sound the harshest, and that's where I want to set them. All right, so now once we got that figured out, now we're going to figure out our threshold and our range. So the threshold is going to set the level that tells the de-esser when it should trigger and actually start to de-ess. And so what I do here is I actually like to go with a fairly light threshold. I don't want to go too crazy. I want more of the range to be able to do the work. And the reason why I want to do that is because there's a lot of information in here between the 7 and 15K range that I don't want to reduce. There's like, when she's saying or Ari, I don't want it to really compress down on that. I want to stay true to those frequencies, especially because a lot of those frequencies are bright and beautiful. I don't want to take those away. And so I want to do a light threshold to where it's just catching the T's and the S's. And then the range is where I want to be a little bit more aggressive. And the range is going to tell it how far to compress it down, right? How many dB. And so what I usually aim for is I aim for about 3 to 5 dB. So it is a little bit aggressive, but that's what I try to range for what it's going to de-ess. One thing that you want to keep in mind is you don't want to compress it down any too much further than that. Like you don't want to compress it down by like 10 or 15 dB, because what's going to happen then is it's going to make the performers start to sound like they have a lisp. It's going to start to take away like too much of the T's and S's, and it's going to make them sound crazy. And a lot of performers will notice that too. Like, whoa, you're making me sound crazy here. So you don't want to do that, especially it can make for a kind of an embarrassing performance if it's too strong. So anyways, let's go ahead and give this a listen and really figure out where we got to get this threshold here. I'm sorry, 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 I'm sorry. Okay, so you can see and you can hear right here that I have a pretty light threshold here. It's just catching it. You can see visually too when this triggers right there. And then what I did was I got a little bit more aggressive with the range, and that way it's just kind of bringing this down by about 5 dB. So let's go ahead and bypass, and then we'll bring it in. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So it just kind of reduces that a little bit there. All right, so then the next thing that I'm going to do is the second de-esser. And like I said, I like to use two de-essers because the second one, now we can focus on a little bit more of that mid-range area, that higher mid-range. So let's check that out and do the same thing that we did before. All right, so I found that area was going to be between 4 to 7K right there. And so now we'll take it out of audition mode.
I'm sorry, 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 I'm sorry.
All right, and then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play it without it, and then I'll put it in.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
So it kind of just reduces that a little bit. And then let's take both of these out.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
So you can hear right there, it reduces the sibilance and makes it a little bit easier to hear on our ears and not so harsh. Another thing, and I went over this in a video that I did a few weeks ago, but on your reverb chain here, you can throw a de-esser before the reverb. That can kind of help a little bit because a lot of times reverb can really splash that sibilance and really, cause a lot of chaos with that. So you just throw it in before your chain here.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
And on the reverb, I get a little bit more aggressive just because I'm really trying to catch a lot of that. But anyways, I do have a full video on that particular one, so you can click right here if you want to check that out. I won't go too in depth on that subject because I just did a full video on that. All right, so my other little tip right here is sometimes you may want to EQ some of the sibilance out just a little bit. And in this particular case, that's exactly what I did. So I'll go ahead and we'll boost this and we'll kind of look for that area.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
All right, so we found that a little bit right there, closer to 7K there, and I just want to bring that down by about 2 dB,
I'm sorry,
and I'll bypass it,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
just to kind of ease up on that a little bit. So now let me go ahead and before all of the things that we did, let's go ahead and show you what that sounds like here.
I'm sorry,
All right, and then we'll bring this back in.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Right, so that's a pretty big difference between how those two sound right there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and listen to this inside the track.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, those are my tips right there for de-essing, and hopefully that helps out for your vocal mixes as well. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel right here so you can catch the latest tutorials on mixing, mastering, and production. And you can check out some of our suggested videos here, here, and here. And of course, if you're looking for premium loops and samples, you can find that at SoundOracle.net. We got plenty to choose from.